Hey everybody, welcome to the Rees Reformer podcast. Today I'm speaking to you about high performance habits for instructors. And the key to high performance starts off with attitude. And not just when you're in the studio, I believe actually as you're going to the studio. You want to make that clean break from the day. You want to be independent of your mood. You want to be in control and centered, and you want to be in a mood state which is elevating the mood of others around you. So even if things aren't going well for you that day or that week, you have the ability to control your attitude, and that's going to have a really strong effect on the experience of the clients and fellow trainers and team members. Just being in your presence, your mood will rub off on them. So if you can maintain a high level of enthusiasm and you can remain independent from any experiences that may have the ability to bring you down at all, if you could just stay elevated and stay up, regardless of what's happening, that is a key element to high performance. So doing that is something that you kind of work on over time. You get better and better at it. And being able to control your mood in classes too is important, because we've all had those experiences where you're teaching and all of a sudden you might have unexpectedly someone be a bit short and sharp with you. And to stay centered in those moments and not to react emotionally, to kind of give yourself a bit of space and time and pause, and not react is a skill and kind of a muscle that you build over time. Important with that one is just to try and not assign or guess exactly that reaction has something to do with you as a person. You know, we don't actually know what's happened to people before they've come in to class, so we can't always assume that their reactions towards us are purely based on us. Usually people carry their emotions with them, and they can offload them onto others. So it's just good to stay impartial, to not judge, and to stay relaxed, stay centered, and stick to the processes of teaching the class and keep that upbeat, positive attitude. So another thing that's important for high performance is to always put yourself in new environments in which you're able to learn. So you want to be learning new skills, new movements, new cues, new methods. Ideally, if you can find as many mentors as possible, because the more mentors you get, the more insights to different ideas you're going to get. And what can happen over time is you might actually find conflicting ideas, people with different strategies. And if that does happen to you, that's a fantastic opportunity to create something called critical thinking, where you actually have to think about it for yourself and make your own decisions. So the more people you can learn from, the more ideas you get, the more things you can practice, they can start to refine your own processes over time. So putting yourself in new environments, that may mean doing as many classes as you can, and which is really cool because it's really going to fill up your cup too, because a lot of the time being an instructor means teaching a lot of classes each week, and sometimes we sacrifice our own class time to do that. So being able to jump into classes fairly regularly is just going to give you lots of fresh ideas to teach with, and it's going to be a nice renewable source of inspiration. Now, if you can try classes outside of your studio setting, because we often go to classes within a studio or a couple of studios if the owner of the studio that you work for owns a couple of locations. But if you can start to extend yourself into different training groups within your same network or into different studios, you're going to find a lot of variety, and potentially you might find some things which you could optimize. Maybe you take a movement pattern but you change the spring setting for a different purpose, or maybe you find a cue which works really well and you can bring that into your training, or maybe you do training which isn't even with a reformer and you find different ways to cue movement or different ways to use props like dumbbells, or you find different movement patterns which you could bring to the machine. All these new experiences, they're just going to make you a better instructor. So the more experience you get, the quicker you can elevate your performance. And that's something which never ends. We never really finish learning, and the best instructors are still learning. So that's like a mindset and a belief that will keep you at a high level because it will keep you fresh. And the best ones too, they can always have the ability to challenge the things that they know. It can happen sometimes that we get a bit fixed in our ways and we kind of attach ourselves to certain ideas. But if you can remain impartial and you can remain open to new information, that's definitely going to help you perform at a higher level, because sometimes we need to upgrade the processes if we become aware of information which is proven to be more effective. So it's good. It's good to keep an open mind. Now, when you're teaching, if you know all of the clients' names, that's going to provide a fantastic experience for your clients. So I'd consider it a high performance habit to get to know everybody, to introduce yourself to everybody, to remember their names, to use encouragement in your classes when you're teaching. That's going to be really important. As far as your presence in the room, you want to be energetic and see your energy as an investment. The energy you invest into the room is going to come back to you. So if you are low energy, then you're going to get low energy in return. Ideally, you want to invest that energy into the class and it's going to bounce back to you in engagement. And if you get it right, it just feels like you're just bouncing around the room, floating around with the energy that is coming back to you. So that class is going to mirror you. And if you want to see them more engaged, you have to build more connection and you have to use a more energetic presence as you're in that space. Open body language. You're looking at tone of voice, which is interesting and projected. And we want to try and avoid things like sitting down or leaning against a wall or having your hands in your pockets, things like that. They really pull your presence down. As far as movement goes, you always want to be in front of where the clients are facing. And as you know, with a reformer, you can do exercises facing in basically every direction. So putting yourself easily in their eye line and having that energetic presence as you speak and communicate, that will have a big impact on the performance too. So another high performance habit is to leave the studio space in a better condition than when you found it. And that's just a good habit in life anyway, to think that everywhere you go, you have an impact like that. So the smallest details, like lining up the props under the machine, or it could be making sure the space is clean and it's had a vacuum after the class, or it could be that the trash is taken out, or whatever the procedures are. It's really common that people kind of go through the motions and just do the bare minimum and leave. And a lot of people kind of coast by and get away with that. But to be in the space of high performance habits, we have to kind of approach high performance with every single behavior, not just a couple of behaviors. So high performance in this area would be always having the space at an optimal condition for the next instructor to come through. And that's just a personal standard that you hold yourself to. Even if no one's checking, it's just what you do. And you'll find that some people will start to mirror your behavior because they want to emulate the results you're getting. And they might be inspired by how much you care. So to do that even in environments which doesn't appreciate it, that's a real test. And if you can kind of take that as a standard of which you hold yourself to regardless of the environment you're in, you'll find over time that mindset will take you a lot further than just doing the bare minimum or doing the average. You find that opportunities that come your way purely based on how you behave and how you set yourself up, you know. And it's also just showing a lot of respect for your fellow team members. because it can be very frustrating if you walk into the space and you see that it's dirty, and because unfortunately the clients coming into the class are going to associate how that space is to you. So, you can really set your teammates up for success if you're always looking out for them and setting up and leaving the space in good condition. And what we want to do is make sure that you demonstrate that by example, and it's definitely up to the studio team and the management to make sure that everyone's doing their bit. But there's some things that are out of our control, so the best thing to do is just do your bit and not take any shortcuts. Make sure it's the best it could possibly be, and that's just how you roll. Another thing you can do for high performance is try to create a network. And that means that if you go to other instructors' classes, get to know them a little bit. Maybe after class, say, thank you so much for the class. I love this, I love that. Ask them questions like, why did you use this setup today? Or why did you use that spring setting today? Or why did you use that cue? Anything you found interesting, just try to gain a little bit more of an insight, and you'll be surprised by how much instructors love to articulate the reasons why they do things. So you're going to gain a lot more information just by doing that, but you're also going to build a lot of friendships, and the more of a network you build, the more interesting information you'll be able to learn, and you might actually be invited to different workshops, or you might be invited to teach in different locations purely based on the relationships that you build. And all these relationships just start with just a genuine, authentic interest in maybe learning some new skills from other people. So yeah, try to intentionally build a network. A really powerful way to do that, if you want to try to go to different studios, is to maybe contact the owner of that studio or the trainer of that studio in advance, and to let them know, hey, I'm excited to come to your class. I'm looking forward to learning some new stuff, or I've heard a lot about you and I can't wait to try out your class. This works particularly well if you're dealing with owners, because sometimes owners can question the intentions of people coming to their studio that are instructors. But if you're upfront with them and you basically state your intentions, your good intentions, and that you're just interested in learning, they're going to welcome you into that space as opposed to kind of wonder why you're there. And it's a completely different feeling. So if you can potentially send an email to them or send a message to them on social media, that's really going to help you build a network over time. And there's little things like that, they're really going to help you. So if you think about like a compounding effect of all these habits, they're just going to elevate your performance consistently. And the last thing for high performance habits today is to take on new challenges. So that might mean for you to take some covers at different times that you're not usually teaching, or maybe taking covers at the studios that you haven't taught at before. Or it might be trying to do the things which make you feel uncomfortable. There might be some people that you haven't been able to connect with yet in your studio location, some clients which you don't have a lot of rapport with yet. Get to know them a little bit more, ask them a couple more questions, see if you can build a little bit of a relationship with them, because sometimes those clients that are a little bit harder to get to know and can be a bit standoffish, as soon as you get to know them a little bit more, all of a sudden they become your biggest supporter. So not everybody is going to be at that same level of rapport from the first time you meet them. Sometimes you have to kind of build a relationship and you have to earn their trust. The ones that are a little bit harder initially, they turn out to be some of the best clients that you'll get. The most loyal clients, the ones that are always showing up to your classes. So if there's anything which makes you uncomfortable, that could be using certain props, teaching certain exercises, teaching at certain times of the day, teaching certain clients, whatever it is, if you can engage with that, that is your next stepping stone to being at a higher level. Now the reason that is, the only reason that you feel uncomfortable about this thing right now is because there's a gap in skill or knowledge. And that's why you're uncomfortable. Because if you understood it, you wouldn't be uncomfortable. So whatever's making you uncomfortable is basically a key to your progression in the future, to be the next best level of yourself, is to try and learn and do this thing which is currently too much of a challenge for you. So you could just avoid it if you wanted to. But if you avoid these things, then they're just going to keep reoccurring in the future, and then you're just going to have the same experience again and again and again. However, if you engage with it, so if you reject avoidance as a strategy, and if you go at this thing, try and understand it, try and do it, in the process of learning it, now you understand how it works, and now you can do it easily. You can engage with these people easily, or you can teach with that prop easily. So you basically take the obstacle, and the obstacle becomes the way. The obstacle becomes like a stepping stone to the next level of the best version of you. So take on these challenges. So if you have a pen and paper or your phone handy, I recommend make a short list of things which make you uncomfortable. Anything in the studio at all, what makes you uncomfortable? And then start speaking to people that you know are really good at these things, and see if you can gain some insights to take them on. And trust me, as soon as you get that insight and you do it, and it doesn't make you uncomfortable anymore, that means you're growing, and you're growing your comfort zone, and you're just becoming a better version of yourself. So rather than rejecting these things, try to take them on head on. And if you do that as a habit, that means you're consistently growing all the time. So I really hope that you found this interesting today. And just to know that anything which is a challenge for you, if you can take it on directly, you're going to find that in the future, you're going to end up being in leadership positions, because these challenges are consistent for everybody. And if you know how to overcome them, then you can show other people how to do that too. So thank you so much for listening today, everybody. And I look forward to speaking with you soon.